Hello, I'm Rebecca the Maths Lady, and this is the final video in this series for the parents of children who have always struggled with their primary maths, who want to get them properly sorted out. In this video, we're going to complete the foundations of maths and get your child confident with all the maths that's expected at this level. And this level in England is the maths expected when a child turns 6 years old. In many countries, it's the level of maths expected when a child turns 8 years old. And that's why so many children are struggling, because our primary maths curriculum and many others across the world do not acknowledge that many children struggle to learn maths when they're very young. And a lot of children need to be 7 or 8 years old before they're properly ready to learn maths in the ways that they're often taught in schools. So if your child is struggling, they really aren't the only one. There's a huge proportion of children are struggling, and they really can be turned around now they're a little bit older and you're using the methods that I'm suggesting here that will really address the issues they're facing. So stick with me, and your child will not be the child who's clinging on to the teaching assistant or the teacher, asking for help with every answer and then languishing in bottom sets when they get to secondary school. And I have worked with so many of those children, and it is completely unnecessary. So at this stage, you need to do 3 things to get them properly confident with their maths now we have the foundations in place. Number 1, think back over what you've done with them so far. What did they enjoy most? When were they having fun? Let them do more of that maths until they are ready to move on. Enjoying maths with your child. Number 2, if your child is enjoying doing easy maths, I have some other videos you might like to look at that cover some of the wider areas of maths at this level. Here's a link to a video that covers odd and even numbers, which are much harder to teach than you might think, and a few other things. This video covers the basics of fractions at this level. Here's one that looks at the foundations of measuring things. Here's a video that looks at money. And finally, here's a video that looks at shape at this level. Now, you may listen to those topics and say, actually my child's quite good at that, they never struggled with that, in which case you don't need that video because it's going back to very early stuff. But they're there if you'd like to explore around the core topics we've been looking at in this series. Now, what about practice so that your child is starting to work independently? So far it's all been about you. It's been really hard work for you and not much work for your child, and we want to get them beginning to work independently so that you can let them work on their maths without you for a while. Well, of course you can write your own worksheets, or you might have some exercise books that you like, or your child's school might provide some resources for you. And if you've got great free resources, please post a link in the comments to this video if you'd recommend them to other parents. But there's one great resource that I really like to endorse here. I'm not paid by any company. I only ever endorse products because I think they're going to be right for the viewers of the videos that I'm making at the time. And the resource I'm going to tell you about now is Propeller Boards. This company makes 6 different boards that are roughly aligned with the maths in English years 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. But they don't have that information on the boards, and in fact each board has 2 sides which have slightly different levels of maths. These boards are available pretty cheaply in packs of 1 board. I would recommend you buy boards 1 and 2 just now, and if your child is older you might want to buy harder boards as well and put them away for now. We don't want to spook your child with maths that's too hard for them just now. So how do they work? Well, if we look at the first side of the first board, you have to choose a number between 1 and 10, and you can choose different numbers on different days. Let's choose the number 6. put 6 in the cloud, then all over the board there are lots more of these clouds. So you have to copy, or your child has to copy, that number into all the other clouds. I'll just do that. So after that first exercise, the board looks like this with lots of number 6s on, but of course it could be a different number on a different day. And then they have to complete all the activities now that that number 6 is in place. And most of them are quite obvious and you can see how they're relevant. Children like working with these boards. They're attractive, the activities are fun, and they like writing with these pens, especially because if they make a mistake, they know they're going to be able to correct their mistake really easily. I just want to take you through a few of the points about these boards that you might struggle with as a parent. This activity here, where you see a number and 2 blobs below it, is about separating the number into 2 numbers that add up to it. So there are lots of different possible answers. This 6, it could be 5 and 1, it could be 2 and 4. They're asking for 2 different options there, but of course there are lots of other options, 3 and 3, 0 and 6, and so on. Now, down here, you've got a very similar activity going on. You just need to pick one of these examples. So let's pick 5 and 1. And then you need to puzzle out the calculations that come from this. So we start with 2 additions. So the first one is that 6 is 5 plus 1, and the second is that 6 is 1 plus 5. And that shows that it doesn't matter which order you add the numbers. And then you need 2 subtractions. And your 2 subtractions are that if you start with 6 and you take off 5, you have 1 left. So 6 subtract 5 is 1. And if you start with 6 and you take off 1, you have 5 left. So 6 subtract 1 is 5. And that's what they're looking for there. It's about showing that 5 add 1 is 6. And that intrinsically shows that 6 subtract 5 is 1 and 6 subtract 1 is 5 at the same time. It's called a calculation family. A couple of other things worth focusing on. They ask children to count the cubes. Now, children often really struggle to know what's going on there. They start to count squares. It's really worth making some cubes out of dough, making 10, stacking them up, showing children that that is 1 cube, that is 10 cubes, so they deeply know that. If you've done lots of work with Lego in counting Lego blocks, you can link it to this. But children's minds see that as a 3, and then with this they count it as a 21 because they're counting the squares, and all sorts of problems go on here. So you need to pay attention to introducing that visual. Some children will get it straight away, some will struggle. One more thing, on the second board, for the first time we start to see these greater than and less than signs. And of course it's easy to get them the wrong way round and forget which is which. If you just remember that the big end of the sign, the open end, the big end, goes nearer the bigger number, and the pointy small end goes near the smaller number or the smaller result, then you'll be okay, and that's a good way to explain it to your child. If you buy these boards, they come with a whiteboard pen and a rubber, but they also come with a book of ideas of ways of using these boards for parents, and I really recommend you read this book. There are lots of good ideas in it which will help you get a lot more use out of these boards than you otherwise would. So at first you will need to work with your child on these boards, just as if you had to work with them on everything else so far. It's been much more your journey than theirs. But if you followed these steps, your child should start to become independent now. They should be able to work on these a little when you've worked on them without your help. And hopefully they'll start to enjoy doing that and showing you what they can do for the first time independently with confidence. thank you for the effort that you've put in. It really will make such a difference to your child. I'll be back before the end of April with the next series where we will do the groundwork for your child being ready to work on formal written calculations. There's more to do, there's more they need to understand before they start on that, and it's really often missed in modern teaching. But in the meantime, please subscribe to my Rebecca the Maths Lady channel and click on the bell that appears when you subscribe, and then you'll get notifications when new videos are published. Please do post your comments and questions on YouTube below these videos so that I can respond to them and try and meet your needs to sort out your child. Please do recommend this series to your friends in social media groups or directly, wherever you think there will be parents who will need this. There will be plenty. There are huge numbers of children out there who have always struggled with their maths, and we really can fix that. But people need to know about this channel, and I have no resources to promote it, so I need you to tell them. But more than any of that, please enjoy having fun with your child with maths and watching them beginning to thrive. I'm Rebecca the Maths Lady. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey so far. Bye for now.